Hello, everybody. Welcome to the A4NB4Y podcast. This is episode 12. We had just finished up our first season with the Ocarina of Time walkthrough, story points, and let me tell you guys, it was a blast. We had fun doing it. We hoped you like it. Welcome to season 2. The game we are covering is Skyward Sword.
Season
HD.
2, baby.
It just came out on the 16th of July. We hope you guys picked it up if you're any of a Zelda fan as we are. I am Anthony, as always. My other co-hosts.
I'm Ryan Fonzie.
And I'm a plate of spaghetti with 2 meatballs.
Oh, nice. 2 meatballs. Good deal. It's the right amount, if you ask me.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'd go with 3.
3?
3.
I mean, I guess if you don't want to go back up to the buffet to get that second, you know.
I'm being modest, man.
Good deal. But yeah, Skyward Sword. My goodness, I have not played Skyward Sword. Literally, it's been 10 years since I played Skyward Sword.
Wow.
Yeah.
My save file, I actually just checked my link save file from the game that I had previously. So, disclaimer, me and Fonzie did not buy a new game. Cameron, however, did because he didn't own a previous Wii U title. But I had logged in 67 hours in the game beforehand, and the last time I had played it was actually 2016.
Oh, wow.
So it had only been 5 years for me.
I didn't check when my save file was, but I remember getting the game when it came out and playing it that same, like, maybe not that same holiday season, because it came out in November. In 2011, but I probably, last time I played it was maybe 2012, so maybe it's only been 9 years, but it's definitely been a minute. Yeah, goodness. I mean, first time I played this, right? Like I was in college, so I was probably in my sophomore year? Yeah, sophomore year. I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't like this game the first time I played it through. Like, I liked it as a Zelda game, like it was better than most other games. But, like, there were things about it that by the time I got done with my 57-hour playthrough, I was just like, man, this was a
brutal.
Yeah, like, this was a
57.
marathon. Yeah, 57. As most, I think Twilight Princess got up towards 52 when that came out, but 57 was, like, a record for a Zelda game.
Yeah, I just checked.
There was just so much to do.
I just checked my save file. I have 67 logged, and like I don't even have all the items upgraded.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm close. I'm close.
Some grindability. This game's a little bit notorious for padding, as well as like re-giving you item descriptions when you pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just took that out in the new one.
Yeah, and
you get it once and it's over with.
Thing. Yeah,
yep.
Yeah.
One and done.
It's so nice.
So when it happens on the Wii U, if you've noticed it, Fonzie, because I've played so far, if you shut the game off at all, you have to get the item description every single time. But if you leave the game running, you can it'll bypass that. So like once you get, say, an amber, it'll give you, or amber relic, it'll give you the description of that, and then the rest of your playthrough, as many as you get, you'll never see that again until you shut the game off. It'll tell you again. I don't know if yours does that, but mine does that.
It was real bad. I don't know. I haven't seen it with the amber relics or anything yet. But I guess just a little bit more about like when I first played the game, right? Like, so it was my sophomore year in college, and that summer I spent a lot of time. You guys know Steve. That summer I spent a bunch of time over at his grandma's house, just like throughout the summer. Like I think I had, that was like the first year I didn't have like, camp to work. I think I might have been working at like Darien Lake or something that year. I think that was the summer of 2012. And that's when I was like finishing up this game. So he actually watched me beat the final boss of the game. And there was like some trick that I didn't know about. I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to spoil anything, but like, it was so hard to try to do without it. And then when I learned what it was, it just made it so trivial and easy. It's like changed everything. Like, so I don't know. I think the problem that I had the most with this game though wasn't really the padding. It wasn't really the repetitive item descriptions. There were some story elements that I wasn't like when I first heard them, I was like, wow, that's an incredible twist on this whole entire franchise. And then like after thinking about it a little bit more, I was like, I don't like it. I don't want these twists on the franchise. Like, and I think like where that actually comes from is just like, you know, when we were young, we were playing Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, all of those. Like we were still in school. Like every single one of those I played somewhere between probably middle school and high school, right? This was the first one where like I wasn't living at home anymore. I wasn't really like we weren't all connected via like having the same class anymore. So like there really wasn't anybody to talk to about the game. Like I would play it. Like I don't even think Steve was actually playing the game either. So I couldn't even really talk to him about it. It's just like, it was such a lonely experience in comparison to like every other Zelda experience I had had. Like, I mean, these are single player games. So, I mean, you're going to have that anyway a little bit. That's just the way it is. But
I get what you're saying, because like when we were going through Ocarina, like we all talked about it in school.
Yeah. Or like helped each other get through it or whatever. And this was the first time I was like, it's like, you know, I really love this franchise. I really like this game. But like after you were done playing it, it was like, and nobody cares. You know?
Yeah.
So that was kind of a brief description of the first time playing. Like, I'm really looking forward to playing through this again and being able to come to this podcast and just be like, you know, go through it like book club style. Like, I feel like this is going to change this game for me. You know? Like, it's a whole different
No,
experience.
I feel the same way. I've been going through this game, because when I went through the first time, I didn't treat it necessarily like a Zelda game at all. I treated it as its own thing. And now that I'm going back to it, I was kind of playing hand in hand with Cameron because this is his first experience. And
yeah, it is.
I've noticed elements in this game because this was the last game from, 2011 before Breath of the Wild came out, like the next new single player Zelda franchise, right? It was the last one, the last installment. I mean, you've had side games like Link's Crossbow Training and Hyrule Warriors, and I don't really count that.
I had those.
But I don't count those, but like the elements, it's like when you notice the elements, like every time you get an item, that item sound, the little ding-ding-ding, is the same thing that's in Breath of the Wild. The stamina bar was an addition in Skyward Sword. That's the same thing in Breath of the Wild. The environments being more expansive was a big, I mean, obviously there's Hyrule Field and Ocarina, but I just feel like the environments, like everything was sort of, this is like the breakthrough game to get them to Breath of the Wild, I think.
Yeah,
is how I look at it.
For sure, I think this was like the foundation for what eventually became Breath of the Wild.
They tried to stick with the formula that was, Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, with the dungeons, and then also breathe a new element into it that foreshadowed Breath of the Wild. So I want to look at this game now in like a new light, as opposed to the light before where it was like a standalone thing.
Yeah. No, I get that. Like it's definitely new perspectives all around. I know for Cam, this is your first time, right? Like, just
yeah.
hot take. What do you think of it so far?
It feels really different to the vast majority of Zelda games that I've played. All the way up to I'm at the beginning of the second temple on my casual playthrough.
Yeah,
and that is my overall impression of it. Is it feels like a Zelda game where it needs to, but it's a very different experience from most Zelda games.
Yeah, it's kind of got that, like, this and, like, Wind Waker are two of, like, the most experimental ones that they've done.
Yeah, kind of in the same way that Wind Waker feels like a Zelda game where it needs to, but also is very different.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a comparison I always kind of have in my head. But yeah, I mean, that's, I don't know, like I said, like, I'm looking forward to talking about this. I think it's gonna be a different kind of playthrough experience for me. It already kind of has been. Just even paying attention more in the beginning, knowing that I have some that I can come to the table with some stuff to talk about, has already changed how I feel about the start of the game. So, yeah, if we want, we could just jump right into it. So kind of similar to Ocarina, there's going to be a lot of that statement. And we a lot of statements where we say similar to Ocarina because that's the other game we've been through already. I'm trying to keep myself to mostly just talking about games we've already covered in relation to the game we're covering currently, rather than like spitting spoilers out for other games that we haven't been through yet, you know? But similar to Ocarina, we start out with a nightmare. Like some of the first things we see.
I was gonna say even before that nightmare, because that comes last, you have that whole sort of text playthrough of the actual story of what actually happened, why the world is the way it is. Started out, it was like, this is a tale that humans have passed down through generations, and it says of a war that was so great that unmatched in scale and ferocity, it burned the lands and cracked the earth wide with malevolent forces that rushed from the ground below. The humans and the surface people tried to mount a desperate counterattack, but within the war and smoke that had happened, forests had been burned, the land had been choked, the springs, murdered without hesitation, and all in to protect the goddess, the grace of the goddess. This was all for her. She didn't want her people to be hurt anymore, and so she had split the land away, thrown them into the air. She didn't want the humans to face the darkness anymore, and she had taken the sword that was supposedly I want to say evil's bane. We're bringing that up because of Ocarina of Time, but this sacred goddess sword, her sword, and the goddess did everything in her power to seal the evil forces away, and but she couldn't. It was like the Ganondorf thing, like she couldn't seal them away indefinitely, and so she devised the strategy of finding, ancestors of her to kind of reignite the flame and take up arms one day. Is like the precedent that the story goes over.
Right. So yeah, there's a great war, a goddess split the land, and that's why we're up in the sky. To get away from the evil. So yeah, so then we get I think we actually get like a pan of Skyloft, and we find presumably Princess Zelda playing a harp, right? Singing the goddess song. What do they call the goddess song in this one? It's no, it's like, it was such a big deal when the game came out. They really pushed this song. It was
I know what you're talking about though, because she actually like had words and sang it.
It was the Ballad of the Goddess, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And it was like, it's a pretty song. I mean, it has Princess Zelda's Lullaby in it backwards in a few spots, which is kind of cool. It's just some cool trivia. I don't know. So she's singing that. I think she gives a letter to her Loftwing, and that comes over to Link's room. So Link has this nightmare that we described before with the big monster. There's Link kind of standing in the void, and a big scaly black toothy monster that comes out of nowhere and kind of scares him awake, right?
Emphasis on big.
I think it like either eats him or, he ends up falling into some kind of like dark expanse, and then ends up waking up and he's fallen onto the floor of his room.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks up, he's looking around, he sees the Loftwing, and Loftwing just kind of like spits the envelope right in his face. Which is...
Yeah, he falls out of bed.
It's one of the best like Link waking up scenes ever. One thing I will say, like, one thing that Nintendo has done ever since, at least as far as I know, ever since Ocarina, like I don't know if the games before that he was always waking up too, but in Ocarina he was taking a nap because of the nightmares, right? Every game since, he's just kind of been woken up sometime midday, and everyone's pretty much accused him of oversleeping or like being lazy or something like that, like as a joke, as like, oh, Link's always oversleeping, ha ha ha. And it doesn't really get into like how his sensitivity to evil is why he's sleeping, because he doesn't get good sleep. So I don't know. It just seems like they kind of like took that detail out and just started making fun of Link all the time for his sleeping habits. It's just kind of messed up, but
Let the man sleep, everybody.
Right? He can't sleep well. That's why he just like he gets up, he runs for 60 hours straight to defeat the evil so he can get some sleep.
Actually, I don't know if you remember the conversation. I don't know if it was with Pippet, maybe the instructor, or possibly Gapora, but one of those three is like, wow, Link was on time for once. You're usually sleeping the day away. Or some comment like that.
Yeah, one of the instructors are brutal with it. One of them like mentions like his high capacity for sleep. I'm like, you back off, sir.
I got a world to save.
You gotta sleep a lot when the third top thing, bad mattress, bad sleep environment, and evil is constantly just after this poor guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the letter basically reads like, hey, you promised to meet me today before the wing ceremony. Like, come find me at the goddess statue, signed Zelda. Like, it's not exactly those words, but basically it's along those lines of like, you have a commitment that you most likely have already overslept. So she sent the letter over to remind you to wake up and get out of bed and get over there. Which is great. So you head out, of your room. You can meet a few characters here right away. Pippet is favorite in the main hallway. Yeah, Pippet's
love Pippet.
Pippet's a homeboy, man. I love Pippet.
He's so cool. He's like your typical knight.
Hey, you can get 5 rupees out of your wardrobe too.
You can't do that. His wardrobe is all kinds of cluttered and messed up. He's got like flags in there and crazy stuff. He's Link is a woodworker in this game. Kind of cool. He's like carving little bird statues in his room. Just a random detail. I don't think it ever comes up again. Like, you don't ever actually carve anything out of wood in this game, but apparently that's one of his hobbies.
Good to know about Link.
Right? So when you head out, I think you can immediately run into, oh goodness, is it Owlin? I think Owlin might be in one of the classrooms. You can meet Henya. You can meet Fledge, I think.
Yeah.
Fledge, you're supposed to carry some barrels over for Henya. Henya is like the school cook.
You can get a red rupee.
He's too weak, though.
Yeah, he's too weak. I mean, Fledge is like your... there's not really a character I can think of from Ocarina that represents Fledge. There are some characters from other games I can think of.
What about the kid who gets told to move the rocks but can't actually pick up the rocks in the fairy village?
Yeah, that would be one of them. That's a good call.
That's the new Fledge.
That's Fledge. Fledge is that guy.
Yeah.
We don't actually learn that Kokiri's name, so
yeah. But one thing that you might catch on to, I didn't catch on to this, at least not for most the playthrough, my first time through. All of these characters, like all of their names are bird puns or like based off of birds.
Mm-hmm.
So Pippet just straight up is a species of bird. Henya is a hen. Fledge is a fledgling, which is just like a baby bird.
I noticed that when I talked to another character, his name is Gully, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Gully's pretty great. Gully, here's the thing. I think Gully himself isn't why I like Gully, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, but his family has some cool references in it. And I think we'll get to that in just a bit. There's a whole opening sequence we got to get through. So if you try to go into any of the other classmates' rooms, most of them are locked right now. You can't even go upstairs in the main like
Knights Academy.
Yeah, in the Knights Academy, you can't go up. Pippet will stop you from going upstairs. So there's really limited things you can do here right now. Really what the game wants you to do is kind of head outside and start, making your way towards your obligations, like the thing that you promised Zelda you would do. So you head outside, and, on your way over, you immediately get stopped by one of the professors, because Horwell...
So I wanted to...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, so there's a guy, he wrote a book about birds, and his name is David Horwell.
Oh, nice.
And I think that's where they got that from.
Gotcha. I thought it was just another owl reference, because Horwell kind of sounds like owl. But that also makes sense.
No, there's a guy, his name is David Horwell. He wrote books on Galapagos bird wildlife. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, Horwell now is in charge of taking care of the headmaster's cat lemur thing.
Remlet.
I think, Anthony, like this might be a good spot for you to talk about remlets. But it's named Mia, and he asks you if you can retrieve it for him.
Well, Remlets are cute little cats that you want to cuddle with.
Yeah.
And they're basically the pets of Skyloft. And they actually have really large ears that when you accidentally
Yeah.
okay, accidentally throw them off the edge of Skyloft, they will come back because their ears are propellers. I didn't do this in this playthrough. I did this in the last playthrough.
They can flap their way back up
6 years ago.
They're Dumbo cats.
Well, they're so reminiscent of the lemur thing from Avatar.
Yeah.
You know, like The Last Airbender. I don't remember what they were mixed with. Those things. I think they just called them lemurs in that show, but Momo was the lemur in that one, and he could just fly around. So they kind of give the impression, like, you pick one up and you're like, oh, this thing can probably fly. I mean, at least that's what I thought, and I've tested it. I'm not gonna lie. My first playthrough, I tested it. I didn't test it this one because I already knew that they could. But
yeah,
you know, back then I was curious. So,
of course.
So you save him, and he's super grateful. Like Orwell, like, you know, he kind of directs you out where to go next, I think, but there's really not much. It's funny. Everybody you talk to reminds you that, like, this is just before the wing ceremony. Like, it almost seems like you're already late for the wing ceremony. Everyone's like, the wing ceremony is about to begin. And it's not about to begin. Like, it's going to begin in like a little while. Like, you have time, but everyone kind of has that same attitude.
They can tell you just woke up. You know, your history.
Yeah. Yes. They're like, yo, just so you know, it's about to begin, so don't take another nap because, you know, you might miss it.
You don't got time to sit in the shower 45 minutes.
So on your way over to the goddess statue, which is like, you can kind of see it up the hill, you pass by this guy named Jacamar. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it, but he's like the repairman of Skyloft. Jacamar is it's a type of bird, like straight up, like it wasn't even like a pun this time. It was just another, like, kind of like Pipit. It was just straight up the bird name. They're basically a colorful bird that's pretty much a ground bird. Like they nest and live on the ground primarily, which is kind of funny because Jacamar, if you talk to him later on, he'll share with you that he doesn't like heights. Which is, you know, Skyloft is like got to be the worst place to live if you don't like heights.
Yeah.
But he specifically is talking about this tower that's there that, you know, it has some myths about it. And he's like, I would love to climb up it and check it out, but I'm afraid of heights. Just like, so, you know, good little Easter egg there. But yeah, he's repairing a gate that's just meant to kind of keep you from having a convenient shortcut for the time being, into like Skyloft proper. So at this point, all we can really do is move forward. One line that he has that I thought was kind of cool because it's such a maintenance man line to use, but also is like pseudo religious. He's like, he tells you, like, he pretty much like asks you if you've remembered to pray today, and he's like, a prayer in time saves 9, and I'm like, yo, like. That's funny because it's like preventative maintenance prayer. I don't know. I thought it was a funny tidbit there, but cool little mantra that he has. But pretty much just let you go on your way towards the statue where you're supposed to meet Zelda.
And here's the introduction of our first stamina fruit.
Yeah, the first stamina fruit's right there.
There it is. And if you run into it, your guy's probably gonna jump over the fence and to his oblivion. Which has happened to me 2 times accidentally. Well, you don't die. I mean, the knights of Skyloft do save you. Yes, the knight will save you every time, but it's kind of funny that the Knights Academy, because there's no like major threats or military threats to Skyloft. It's like you go through the Knights Academy to become a knight so that you can save people from falling off of Skyloft. Like that is their calling. That is their primary goal.
Yep. Or help the townsfolk with menial tasks.
They're basically like super lifeguards.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's hilarious because once you get below that cloud layer, the Loftwings aren't going to follow you anymore. It's real bad out there.
You're donezo.
Yeah. So,
One of the bridge.
Yeah, you head up the bridge, and here's one of the, like, at least for this part, before the later time, I mean, there's some stuff later in the game that kind of reveals what this is all about, but you might notice before you actually get to the goddess statue, there's a big, like, half circle room that's been, like, destroyed halfway through it. And it's just, right now it's serving as the gateway up to the goddess statue, but if you look at the ceiling of it, it actually has a few of the sage emblems on it from Ocarina of Time, including like part of the Triforce design that's also been split in half. It's interesting because I want to note this now because I'm gonna have to call back to it around the end of this episode. Well, not around midway through this episode, I should say. But the three medallions that are shown that are still intact up in Skyloft, because there's, I think we find the rest of this building somewhere else in the game. Spoiler a little bit, but it's pretty early on, so it's not that bad of a spoiler. But the three medallions that are still here are Light, Forest, and Spirit. Which I looked into this to see if it was intentional or not, because I thought, they probably just copy and paste it, like, okay, what's the pattern from Ocarina? Let's throw it up. The pattern in Ocarina is actually different. I think like Light and Forest are still next to each other, but it's not Spirit. It's like Fire next, and they actually like swapped it out for Spirit, which I thought was interesting. So they changed the order, but they also they only left 3 up here in Skyloft that we can see. So that's just, for now, it's just an Easter egg that these 3 are here and that they're not the same order. But later on, it'll all make sense why I brought that up. But we can travel through this gate, this doorway, to the goddess statue, where we run into Zelda, who is once again playing her Ballad of the Goddess.
Killing it.
Yeah.
Slaying it up there.
She's doing
She's got lightning harp fingers.
She's got that Melon voice from Ocarina.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a cutscene involving Zelda and Link.
Yeah, she asked some questions. Do you remember what the questions were?
Oh, that's right. One of them was I think you're just flirting with you, right?
Well, she asked if you like her outfit because it's like special for the ceremony today. And I think you can say like
I choose the jerk option. Yeah, I choose the jerk option, and she was like, meh.
Yeah, there's one that says nice costume, and the other one says you look great or something like that. So yeah, you could definitely be a jerk. Like nice costume.
Yeah, nice costume it's a sarcastic one.
I'm pretty sure that this happens regardless, but I'm pretty sure this was extra needed for her when I said because she kind of said something sarcastic back and then literally committed murder.
What?
Almost. Because she pushes you off the edge after. And,
okay.
Normally it's like, oh, your Loftwing is going to come and get you. But little do we know, we don't know where Link's Loftwing went. Apparently he has a Loftwing. It's the regarded and renowned Crimson. Loftwing. But we don't know where the heck it is right now. It didn't come to Link's aid.
Which is the first time it's ever happened.
They're always come to their owner's aid whenever their master calls. And so Zelda's Loftwing saves Link, but she could have just committed murder right there.
Well, I'm sure one of the knights would have eventually caught on.
Eventually.
Yeah, no, it's funny.
As Link almost reached the
She's
cogs.
like, oh, the ceremony's about to start, but you haven't gotten any practice, have you? She's like, oh, you got to practice. And she just does like the controlling mom thing and just like pulls you over to the edge and throws you off. Like, all right, go fly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're saying you can't sense your bird? Oh yeah, likely story. Yeet. Oh goodness. And I think, by then Gabora has shown up, and that, I think that's the official introduction of Gabora.
Which, can we talk about his name?
Who is suspiciously named just like the owl from Ocarina, Gabora, who gave us our name of our podcast. But yeah, he looks like an owl.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
He really does.
I know that there are fan theories about this, about him
He's been pre-incarnated.
Yeah, right. Either like he actually is the same owl, like he eventually, transcends into owl form, or he becomes a Rauru at some point. I don't have any reason to think any of that's real, but
Nah, he's already so old.
There was this really weird point in the 90s where Zelda and Animorphs did a thing together.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen enough supporting arguments for that, but I mean, listen, sages haven't been defined in this game, so we don't know anything about it. Who knows? Probably not.
He's just a guy who's named Gaebora.
It's just a mean reference. I'm guessing, though, because I don't think we ever see his Loftwing in the game. I'm just going to throw it out there that his Loftwing is probably huge and brown and named Gaepora. So,
yes.
That I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Gaepora?
I mean, it is his other half.
Right. When does Gaepora tell the story of Link getting his Crimson Loftwing?
I think here.
That's right before she pushes him off.
Oh, yeah. So he tells the story about how, like, every person in Skyloft, like, their Loftwing is their other half. And how with Link and the Crimson Loftwing, when, Crimson Loftwings were thought to be extinct, they're so rare. Like, they bonded almost immediately. And Zelda was jealous of their friendship even at that young age. And, there's just a bunch of like hinting at like just how close Link and Zelda are and, how long they've been together and,
Oh, and there's other characters that let you know plenty good too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
They remind you.
They do. Without remorse.
But yeah, this is the hardest in the paint any Zelda game has ever gone into the Z-Link relationship. Like, it's ridiculous how much signaling they do.
Even more than Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
and all the scenes that you see in there.
Breath of the Wild did a lot of that, and it, I think we'll talk more about that when we actually get to Breath of the Wild. But
what I'll say for this game is the facial expressions.
Oh yeah, the body language, like everything. It's like just 100%. Like this is who these characters are.
Okay, so yeah, the body language that I've noticed, and I don't want to, spoil anything, but I've played a little later on already, and just seeing Zelda and Link interact with each other and the way that they cinematically made them interact, it's so much better than Breath of the Wild. Like Breath of the Wild, the story didn't make me feel anything. Like, you remember, like, we talked about the scene with Link running away from Saria and the emotional impact that had? Like, you could just tell that hit hard, and it was like a 4-second... This game does that well, I feel, with the facial expression, showing the character's emotions. That is one story element I do like about this game.
Nice.
As opposed to Breath of the Wild, which it didn't convey anything, I feel.
Yeah, they are very expressive in this game. Hilariously so sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Like sometimes Link gets so happy his face is like lights up like the 4th of July.
Yeah, especially when he gets a stamina fruit.
Oh boy.
I don't remember what scene it was, but I think it was the one where they were talking about Link when he was a kid that we were just talking about. And at one point his arms like go to his side and he gets this huge like nervous frown. He like kind of looks down at the ground awkwardly. I'm like, my boy. Yeah. I can feel the tension in you.
Yeah.
So good.
So, all right. So that happens.
So now we're on the mission to find our Crimson Loftwing.
Basically, you head back down the bridge, and yeah, I feel like if you just go talk to people, like, they pretty much give you a clear answer. Like, I think Jackamar says that he saw Groose chasing after your bird.
Oh, I didn't.
If you speak with him again,
I don't know if I talked to him. I mean, I tried to talk to everybody as much as I could, but I don't remember him specifically calling out Groose. I do remember if you go talk to Fledge, he acts super shy and like he knows something's up. And then like he's like, I feel like I should tell you something, but no, I can't. And then you like start to walk away, and he's like, wait, Link. And then you turn back and he's like, oh, never mind. I'm like, you know exactly what's happening, Fledge. Like, come on, dude. He's just so scared of the other people in the game that he's just like,
of the Grusinator.
What, you giving it away, man? No, that's. I mean, yeah, you go out into like main Skyloft. I mean, I think you talk to people around here and kind of see. I think most of the rooms are open now. I think.
They open the gate.
Yeah, they open the gate to Skyloft. They open up. Like I actually went back by the school. That's how I talked to Fledge. I know if you go back out into Skyloft, you can meet Gully, who, is like, oh, if you can probably roll into this tree and get that bug off the tree, I could probably catch it. So you do, and he totally can't catch it, but, he's excited anyway. You did that for him. Do we want to just jump straight to it? Like, straight to the story?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Let's do it.
Cool. So you find this big, basically like a diving platform. Like, this is like your airbase, I don't even know what you call it, flight deck, right?
Aircraft carrier.
Yeah, there's like a flight deck on the front of
Hangar Bay.
Skyloft. It doesn't have any kind of ceiling or anything, but it's just a big empty platform meant for taking off. And as you approach it, you get this cutscene where it kind of goes on, and you see this dude with red hair. He's got, I guess whenever you see someone wearing like a scarf type thing, the game, I don't know if the game itself refers to this as this, but like if you go through the wikis or anything, they're referred to as sailcloths. Like everybody, like there's not just the actual like sailcloth for the ceremony. I don't think we talked about that yet, but Zelda made a special sailcloth for the ceremony. But people wear them just in general in Skyloft as well. So he's got this sailcloth with this cool symbol on the back. And, he's got his spiked up red hair, and his friends are like rubbing his shoulders or whatever. And they're like, oh man, like that Loftwing really put up a big fight. And he's like, oh yeah, like a Crimson Loftwing like that for sure. Like you can't expect it to go easy, but we're going to win this thing for sure. He's like basically bragging about how he did the deed. So you basically confront him. He's like, what do you want? He's like, where's my Loftwing or whatever? And then he's like, oh, may have seen it, may have not. I don't remember what he says, but basically you get these options, and one of them is nice hair, and I don't even know what the other two are.
And then he points his finger at you after that.
But who ever picks not nice hair? Like, it's the only good option. There's like, one of them is like, give it back, and the other one is like they're both kind of whiny, and then the last one is nice hair. So I mean, but it's funny. Like Groose is such a Gaston in this game.
I know.
Like he's so much like nobody fights like me, nobody like flies like me, whatever. Like he's like, I'm gonna be the one to marry Belle. I mean Zelda, basically. is his whole personality.
He's literally a ripped off of Gaston.
Yeah, he gets a lot of like. People call him Biff Tannen a lot. I like the Gaston better, but he is like that. I think calling him Biff Tannen is great because that would imply that Link is McFly, which when I think about that, I'm like, I really missed the opportunity to name my Link McFly this time around, but that's okay.
Oh, I want a hoverboard for Link.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, so Zelda, at that point, after, you call out his hair and he's like, hey, I got the best pompadour in all of Skyloft or whatever. Like don't mess with the dew or something. Like, it's just, it's a fantastic line of dialogue, and you should experience it for yourself, listener at home.
Yeah. For sure.
But,
and then he starts going off about Zelda.
He has a moment where he kind of talks about how there's no way he's going to lose the wing ceremony now. And gets into a whole thing about him and Zelda are going to have this special moment alone up on the statue, and how he can see it now and how great it's going to be. And
I can't wait.
He's just all like hunched over, talking to himself about it. It's very very uncomfortable.
Heavy.
It's very uncomfortable.
And then who comes along?
Yeah, and I think Zelda shows up.
And that's when she comes in.
She comes in and like basically calls him out for being a jerk. And he doesn't even register it. He's like, he starts breathing heavy, and like you can kind of tell that his crush for Zelda has now like completely overtaken any reasonable response that he could have had to this.
Yeah, she comes up and she's like, "Why are you always picking on him?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I don't know, I suppose." And she's like, "You suppose?" And he's like, "I suppose." And then he gets a smile and his eyes kind of go off. He's like, "I suppose." Nothing. I'm leaving. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his two little henchlings, Strick, which is ostrich, and Stritch, I guess you could say, and Colin, caw, and then
it's like that.
Groose is the dumbest out of all of them, man. Groose, he's a goose. Well, he's a goose.
Yeah. Colin, it's like the noise that crows make, right? So crows are meant to be like really intelligent creatures. This is just like going into it. I think they're trying to telegraph that Colin is like a smart student, though he's kind of socially awkward and, what have you.
In the wrong crowd.
Stritch is kind of secretive here, but, ostriches have that weird myth about them burying their heads in the sand, which they don't actually do. They just nest underground. So, like, they put their heads underground to, like, adjust their nests and stuff, and that's where the myth comes from. But either way, like, Stritch is kind of secretive. And also kind of fits the description of being, like, a super tall, lanky dude. And then, you have Groose. Groose is an interesting character. Can we talk about Groose for a second?
Yeah.
Because I'm a big fan of Groose. I'm gonna be probably talking a lot about Groose this season because he goes through a lot in this game. And I don't want to spoil it because again, like, but aside from anyone who's actually deciding to somehow play this game through with us, we also have Cameron who hasn't fully played through the game yet, and I don't want to ruin it. But
I don't know much about the goose.
But geese are pretty cool. You know the flying V, about how geese, like, they fly in that pattern?
Mm-hmm.
They do that because the updraft from the goose in front and, like, all the other geese in front, like, they kind of, like, makes it easier for the next goose to, like, actually continue flying. So, like, the goose in front, like, it basically, they're flying as a team. Like, the fact that formation helps the ones in back, like, have an easier flight. And they actually take turns being the leader so that overall, like, they're always kind of fresh. Like, you keep getting a fresh leader goose to kind of go through. I mean, obviously, we only have one goose in this game. So, the implications of that aren't felt yet. Like, but there's, if he's at all like a goose, there's a lot of teamwork stuff involved here. Bruce here, I mean, he has a team. He has his two lackeys right now. And he's like, he's a very strong individual. Geese are pretty, they're pretty fortified birds if you think about it. One thing I want to throw something up into the Discord real quick. And I know this isn't going to play very well for our listeners, but, I want you to just see one of these experiences that I've been through. So I'm putting it up in the private chat channel. Hold on one second.
Hey, the one I'm already clicked on. All right.
Yeah. Take a look at this nasty PNG. This is like just a set of photos that I have saved in my phone right now. And they all relate to that top left one, which is Groose's, like, family emblem that he has on his sailcloth. I was trying so hard to figure out what this emblem was. And I found things that looked similar to it, but it was so difficult.
The goose.
Yeah, one of them is a goose, because there actually is, like, a goose form. Like, at the very bottom of it, you can see the goose's tail has that, like, weird spade shape. And then he's got, like, the wings to the side and the head going up through the center. But that being a goose, those two swirls that are included, I couldn't figure out what that was supposed to be. I found a bunch of stuff. Like, there's a...
Ganondorf's cape thing is a stretch.
Yeah, there's a fleur-de-lis, which is like a military symbol or a royalty symbol. It's like French royalty has used this symbol forever. That came up if you actually did a search by image. There's in Wind Waker, the Dark Nuts actually have a symbol on their chest that looks kind of similar to this, but the sword would be like even more stylized. But I mean, you can see the swirls and the sword through the center. It kind of works that way. The Gerudo shield in Breath of the Wild kind of has some similar shapes as well on it. The Ganondorf cape is definitely a stretch. But I'm not going to lie, I looked through so many symbols in these games. I actually went through the entire Hyrule Historia looking for something that matched this symbol because I couldn't tell what it was supposed to be. It looked like a face, but I couldn't find any characters with a face that actually looked like it. Man, it was an Easter egg hunt for sure, because, nowhere online was able to find anything about Groos's like family crest or his symbol or whatever. It actually seems to be a unique symbol overall. But I just want to say I spent way more time than I care to admit trying to figure out what this symbol was. All to basically just support something that I think is already evident with other clues in the game. Because, like if you look at that bottom right picture, zoom in on that a little bit, you'll see a bunch of those swirls just on Gerudo clothing in general. There's been a lot of people who've already theorized that Groos is an early Gerudo.
It's fair to say with the orange hair.
Yeah, he's got that's the thing. Like in a lot of cases, it gets left at that. Like he has orange hair, end of story. And that's not really fair or real, because we already know like Malon has orange hair and other Hylians have orange hair. And orange hair is not exactly like exclusive. But he also has like slightly tanner skin than some of the other characters, which isn't a strong argument because he's not exactly like as tan as the Gerudo were. I think that Nintendo does a lot of signaling via like physical traits in their characters. Mm-hmm. The biggest one, Groos has yellow eyes. The eyes are huge. In these games, like all of the Sheikah are supposed to have red eyes. The Gerudo have yellow eyes. Like, they kind of contrast that way. Groos has yellow eyes as well, and he has this symbol that to me at least looks vaguely Gerudo on his back. Not to say that Gerudo are actually in this game. They're not mentioned in this game at all, and there's no reason to like go too far into this, but it is a theory that like I'm a fan of and I do subscribe to, is that after the events of Skyward Sword, Groos was at least involved in either the creation or the continuation of the Gerudo race. And that's why we see like his physical genetics appear later on, in games that are supposedly later on in the timeline.
Also, even personality traits. I mean, Groos is, from what we learn already, he's a very proud person of his self-acclamations, right? And the Gerudo were nothing but a proud group of people.
Yeah, I mean...
And that's like a direct personality trait.
I mean, if you want to really make it bad, I mean, the first thing we learn about Groos is that he stole something. Like...
Oh, no.
So he's a thief immediately. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, though.
I didn't want to go there, but yeah.
You could also say that the Gerudo from Ocarina of Time didn't really care much about other people's opinions. Like, where they just threw the carpenters in the brig because they walked a little too close when they were working on the bridge. Yeah. And in Groos's case, like, he doesn't really seem to care about Zelda's feelings or anything. He just kind of wants to get alone time with her through any means necessary.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, the pursuit of Zelda is another parallel. The thing, like, when people go into, like, oh, he's the original, like, Ganondorf. Like, I don't want to say that. But I do think that he's a pretty hard contrast to Ganondorf. And I think that there is there's something to be learned there by just looking at that parallel. I'm not going to say that that's canon or that's anything like that, but I am going to kind of hold on to that. Like, this is how Groos is introduced to us, right? Like, I want to remember this moment because, like, it's kind of like we're going to see Groos go through some stuff. And I think that it's one of the best stories that this game has to offer. Is like in terms of just NPCs and character development and stuff like that. Like, he is one of the coolest stories that I've ever seen in a Zelda game, and he's also he just becomes one of the coolest characters. So I don't know.
Even though I still hate looking at his mug,
I have yet to see it.
You have yet to see it. Be warned. It's incredible.
I wait with bated breath.
Groos is the man. We gotta come up with a call sign for Groos. Whenever he shows up, it's just got to be like I think
G-Unit.
Remember when we used to be on the soccer team, and I think Richie used to do Goose impressions. I think what was it, like aw, right? That's gotta be the Groos signal.
Yeah.
From now on.
All right,
like,
cool. We're gonna summon the Groos.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Garoo.
Yeah.
All right, so guess let's continue on with the story here, right? So we find out that Groos has basically thrown Link's Loftwing somewhere. We don't know where because he just walked away. We never learn where it was, and so we end up going back to the Knights Academy, and we find Pippet and Fledge. They're chatting, right? And so we go speak with them, and Fledge is kind of like sitting there all awkwardly, like, oh God. Like, that nervous wreck he was before. And then Pippet's like, come on, man. What are you talking? Spit it out, man. Just whatever's on your mind, just spit it out. And he's like, oh, well, I promised Groose that I wouldn't tell anybody because he was going to throw me off of Skyloft. And Pippet's like, man, just tell us, man. What is it?
It's funny how he calls Link over, like, yo, Link, I think Fledge knows something. Like, you gotta get over here.
I love Pippet.
Pippet's the best.
He's such a bro.
Yeah, so he's the one who won the wing ceremony the previous year. It's it's the only way you can become a senior in the Knights Academy is by winning the Knights ceremony. So it's literally you have to compete against all your other classmates. But Fledge is the one guy who didn't qualify for this year's race. So, there's that.
Rip.
Yeah, so basically Pippet tries to get it out of him, and Fledge eventually goes, okay. Well, nervously, okay, because that's how he talks. And he says that Groose planned to hide Link's bird under the waterfall in the north end of Skyloft. And so once you learn this information, you're like, oh, okay, so I'll just go there, right? Well, Pippet's like, but it's dangerous. Mm-hmm. So, maybe you should try to find some kind of weapon or something.
Yep.
So you go over to the back of the Knights Academy, which I want to say before we actually get into the sparring hall, I wanted to talk about the Sheikah Stone that's outside that. Because there's a Sheikah Stone or an Eye Stone. I don't know what they call it in this game.
It's the Moonlight Merchant. So if the fact that you met it in a back alley wasn't sketchy enough, it refers to itself as the Moonlight Merchant, and it's kind of like a Sheikah Stone, but with like some demon horns on it. I guess it's mad sketch. It's a sketchy Sheikah Stone.
That's crazy.
But it's got the Lens of Truth eye on it, and it's like,
Yeah. One thing to remark on, it's a blue eye instead of a red eye. Don't know what that's about.
I haven't done much digging into this yet because I honestly forgot this was here, but like I kind of want to do some research into this because like why is there a Sheikah Stone on the top of Skyloft?
Yeah, I don't know.
And mind you, a sentient Sheikah Stone, because the ones in Ocarina of Time are like, this is the time. This one's like, this is everything you've ever done, and here's some strategies on how to do things.
It's that first hint stone, man. They started doing that, putting hints in the games, like beyond the regular ones.
Like the fortune teller.
Exactly like the fortune teller.
Look into my big, beautiful eyes.
And those eyes are big and blue, just like the blue Moonlight Merchant eye. I don't know what that means. I don't know what any of this means.
Conspiracy.
We'll have to look into it. We'll save it for another time. So
yeah, we'll just keep an eye out. A blue one.
Yeah. There you go. So we next to the Sheikah Stone, there's a separate building from the Knights Academy. It's called the Sparring Hall, which we then go in there and we speak to Aegis. Aegis is the Knight Commander of the Knights, and he tells you that if you want to practice, go get a practice sword, and so you start practicing.
Yo.
You learn the basic skills of the game.
Aegis is an absolute unit of a knight. my dude graduated back when the uniforms were brown. Like, this dude... I love this dude. Like, he doesn't play a major role.
He's great.
But you could just tell, like, the dude could he could clean house. If you sent him to the, on an adventure, he'd come back successful every time.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing stops Aegis.
No. You know how many sky monsters he's probably defeated defending Skyloft? Too many to count.
His slime counts in the millions.
Legends have it. He's already defeated 3,000 choo-choos on Skyloft alone.
So, the unit himself will complete the training with you once you've done all the exercises, and if you try to leave, he's like, "Whoa, hold on. It's dangerous to go out there with a sword. You could accidentally hurt someone." And then you kind of tell him that, "Hey, so Bruce was a jerk, and I need my Loftwing."
Mhm.
And he's like, "Whoa, well, I mean, since you explained it to me that way, you can keep it, but only till you get your Loftwing back. Then bring it back." And then you're like,
Yeah, they have a no sword policy on Skyloft, which is pretty great because you're gonna break that the whole rest of the game.
Yeah, it turns out so much for that.
yeah.
It's like, oh wait,
Even right off the bat.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think they mark the location on your map because, probably at this point, you're probably really unfamiliar with Skyloft since it is kind of a big place and it's kind of confusing.
It is confusing for sure.
Yeah, I'm still a little lost. Like, it took me forever to find the graveyard. It's a later episode thing, but you get over to the waterfall, and this is the first time you get to play the best minigame that's almost ever existed in a Zelda game, cutting trees.
Oh yeah.
I love this so much.
Just cutting the trees?
It took me 8 minutes to get into the waterfall because I had tried to cut the trees in cool directions. I was like, "Hoo-yah-yah-yah-yah!"
Okay.
So we get into the waterfall by cutting down all the trees outside of the entrance.
Even the ones you don't need to cut down, just cause.
Yeah, just do it. Just cause it's fun. It's the best minigame. There's actually a minigame involved in doing this. We'll talk about later. But yeah, just have fun with it. Practice your sword swings. Get to know like the angles and all that. And once you get into the cave, we find our first monster. And it's not that impressive. It's just a green choo-choo,
Oh yeah.
We've seen choo-choos before. They exist in like almost every Zelda game.
I don't think the choo-choos in this one even do damage. They just maybe if you leave them on too long, they'll do some damage. But their first first move is to just try to immobilize you so something else can hit you.
Yeah. So these specific choo-choos, this color variation, they prefer damp environments. They will literally digest anything that they can absorb into their body. They have no genders. And they increase their population by dividing themselves amongst smaller sized choo-choos until they can get enough nutrients to get big again, and then divide yet again. That is how they reproduce. They are so easy to defeat. You literally just swing your sword in any direction somewhat down, and they're dead. These choo-choos don't really do much, and then if they get on you, just shake them off. And then the next enemy that we see, which is like right past that, is a Keese. Welcome back, everybody, to the Keese.
They're the same enemy every time.
Yup, bats.
Yep. They show up so many times throughout this game, just like Ocarina of Time. They will literally only do like a fourth of your heart if they hit you, so it's honestly just walk right through. You don't even have to fight them. What I like doing is just doing so because we don't have Din's Fire in this game. I needed to come up with a new move, and I actually have a new move called the Goddess Tornado.
You just talking about a spin attack?
No, it is not the Goddess Tornado spin. It's not the spin attack. All right. So you take your controller, whether you have a Wii remote or Switch controller, and you swing it up, and then you kind of go in like a figure 8 motion, but like bringing the back of the controller up. So like you're basically doing an infinity sign, but without doing the actual infinity sign. If you can visualize that, the way the controller is set up, Link will just swing his sword left, right, but diagonally each time. And no matter what is guarding against you, it will break through their guard, or whatever's flying at you cannot hit you. Like it's an impenetrable defense shield. And I've devised this strategy by just wildly swinging the Wii remote and figuring out the pathway to do this.
Okay.
And I will be referring to it as the best strategy for most every enemy in this game. So you will hear Goddess Tornado mentioned again
a real thing.
multiple times.
It's not a real thing, Anthony.
Oh, it is. Well, that's the great thing about the combat in this game is you can move your sword wherever you want. So you can have different strategies of fighting different things. This strategy, nothing can block it if you do it right. Because
if done right, none can block.
there are a few enemies later in the game that will be able to, but
yeah,
it's just a great strategy. So that's how I defeated the Keese. They're cave creatures too. They gather in colonies. They sleep in the day, active at night. And yeah, if you get too close to them, they are bats, so they want to eat you. That's the Keese.
Nice.
And those are the only two enemies we find in this cave. Also,
yeah, there's a treasure chest in here somewhere, but I think it's just rupees or something like that. And then we eventually get around back of this waterfall, and we find a little cave where our Loftwing is held. And we can run forward, and there's like 4 ropes like holding these wood planks up that are keeping it locked in this little cove. So you have to like, cut strategically on an angle, which I suppose you could do with the Goddess Tornado if you really wanted to. And yeah, you free your Loftwing, and it becomes like this big happy moment. I think Zelda's there with you too, because she flies up and meets you back there, like right before you're done. And then like follows you for the last few steps, which is kind of funny because it's like, why didn't you just show up after I freed the Loftwing? Like, why did we have an escort mission just for 4 steps, But it is what it is.
Your Loftwing steps out and just spreads its wings.
Right?
Which is, the way it spread its wings is like basically the Hylian symbol.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's the real thing about it, right? Like the only reason that Link's like Loftwing is crimson in the first place is because that's what the Hylian shield has had on it since Ocarina of Time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's got a little red bird that has never been explained until now. It is the crimson Loftwing. I think one of the cool things, I mean, it does look nice with Link, like it's got a nice contrast to the green and everything, but like, I think one of the cool things about most of the Loftwings in the game is that they have some kind of resemblance to their owner. Link's, I think it just has like a leather bandolier somewhere, which doesn't even match Link yet. It will later on. But then Zelda's, I think, has she has like this string of coins basically somewhere on her uniform, and the Loftwing also has that like strung across it somewhere. Like they just have like little accessory details that always match. In case anyone was wondering, Groose rides a large black Loftwing that has a pompadour of its own, and has the same red and green necklace that Groose wears. So that's pretty great. If we're looking for more Gerudo references, Ganondorf in his original Gerudo attire in Ocarina also had red and green patterns going across his like ankles and sleeves and stuff. But that's for another discussion.
Yes.
So yeah, so you guys go and practice flying your Loftwings together, you and Zelda.
Yeah, and this is where you get your first experience in the air. I mean, how did you feel about that, Cam?
In the very beginning, it was weird. I didn't fully understand how it worked. It took me like 5 minutes to get a handle on the controls. But once I really understood how to get speed, how to go up without just like slowing down and coming to a halt, I felt like it is pretty fluid. I actually enjoy it. I feel like the distances you seem to go for a lot of things might be a little longer than they need to be for the little bit that I've played so far, but it handles well.
It's very much, in my opinion, like a small fraction of sailing the ocean in Wind Waker with the distance that some of these sky islands are.
Yeah, it's not long enough to feel like it's on an ocean, but it's still long enough to be like, this should just be like a little shorter. That's how I feel anyways.
Yeah.
Can we talk about one poor design choice of this specific flight experience though? Because I agree that like flying in general in this game like is pretty great, like it's pretty smooth, like I like it overall. But right here, Zelda brings you out to like practice flying, and they don't tell you this in the game, but you are actually very limited as to where you can actually fly. Like I immediately got on the loft wing, flew straight forward, and saw one of those like boost rocks, that like let you like shoot forward through the sky.
Yeah.
Tried to fly to it. My loft wing started hitting an invisible wall, and I didn't understand that was happening until like Zelda was like, "And we're done practicing. Like, how did you feel about it?" And I was like, "Are you serious?" Like, the loft wing was just like doing the weird flapping thing, like it was running into something, and I'm like, am I flying too high? Am I in the wrong area? Like, what is happening? Like, it just, I'm like, do I need to hit my boost button? Like, if I fly too slow, does it just do that? No, I was hitting an invisible wall the whole time. Did not realize.
I just stayed right next to her during the training, and then it was over.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess so.
I just went off and did my own thing.
Don't fly too far away is the lesson we learned today.
It wasn't that far.
It was only to the boost rocks, man. Those are before the things.
And then we go back to Skypiea.
To who?
Skypiea.
But we have a chance to get rid of our sword, and we don't take it. We keep our sword, and now we go into our competition, and we still have a sword throughout that.
Yeah, and no sword policy place.
Gapura straight up like delayed the wing ceremony for you, so that you would have enough time to get your loft wing back beforehand.
Yeah, and they even joke about it too. He's like, "Oh, go tell your teacher that he needs to talk to the headmaster about delaying it." Like, but you're the headmaster. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Tell him to talk to me. I'll be in my office.
Yeah, it's all just like, if he goes talks to the professor, then the professor's gonna just defer to you anyway. He's like, oh yeah, okay, I'll go talk to him. It's just, So
he knew.
So you get to the wing ceremony. Oh my goodness, which I think Groose earlier told you, like, try all you can, like, try with your whole heart, and you might even come in second, Like, he's just that guy. It's pretty great how confident he is, though. But we get to this ceremony, and this is where you can see everybody's loft wing, and how they kind of look like the characters that ride them. The professors kind of go over why it's so important and how, the person who wins will graduate, and we'll get to go to the goddess ceremony at the statue. That, this year that the person chosen to play the part of the goddess is Zelda, and that she's prepared a sailcloth for the winner. And, there's all this like ritual kind of thing that just reminds the people of their history. And it's cool. They have a special golden loft wing for this event that carries a statue. It's basically like the rabbit in the race, that all the dogs follow, but it's loft wings instead.
Or it's the snitch.
Yeah, it's very much like the snitch. It is the golden snitch loft wing for sure. Mm-hmm. 150 points and the game is over. So basically that's it. That's the wing ceremony. Like, you're all racing to catch this golden loft wing. So you all take off. Link can run faster than all the other students as well if you sprint off the edge.
Yep.
But, once you get the hang of flying, you get pretty close to this thing, you're about to grab it, and suddenly, like,
there be shenanigans afoot.
Yeah, Groose and his lackeys are like, all right, baby, it's egg time. It's like, Groose, like, when I was a boy, I ate 6 dozen eggs, right? Like, that's and now I throw them at people on loft wings.
Big eggs.
So they all start chucking loft wing eggs at you, I guess. It's kind of messed up. You think the loft wings would take issue with that, but they don't.
Nah.
But now you have to do the same challenge, except now you have to dodge loft wing eggs as well. And they're pretty good at aiming those things. Like, they're not that hard to dodge, but they always come right at you, where if you don't move out of the way, like, you will get hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they smacked me a time or two my second time through.
Yeah, but you eventually do win. I don't want to take away from the grandeur of this game, but you can't lose. No one's going to get that loft wing if you don't, so you got to get it. So go get the loft wing. And you win the ceremony, and it's like, we get some serious Zelda and Link FaceTime, because I think she's so happy that you won this ceremony that she dives off of Skyloft onto your loft wing. Like, her loft wing got like it had to like rest and recover after it like dove to catch you and carried 2 people back up onto Skyloft. But she's like, oh yeah, the Crimson Loftwing can definitely handle this move. Let me just like crash land onto it real quick. So you catch her and you have biggie. Like this very romantic flight over to the goddess statue where she's so happy that you won the wing ceremony like you promised, and that you'd be able to do this ceremony together like you promised, and like, she made this special sailcloth for you. Well, you find that out when you get to the statue, but she made the sailcloth specifically thinking about Link.
It even like fits his coloring for the clothes he was wearing at the time.
Aww.
Yeah. The blue like Loftwing symbol on it, right? Like it matches his like white shirt with the blue Loftwing around the collar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, little do we know, later we're going to get a wardrobe change, but yeah, it very much looks like if Link put that sailcloth on, he'd be, like Skyloft's next top model, basically.
Playing some Legend of Fashion. The fashion of Zelda. It's pretty great.
The fashion of Zelda.
I like that.
But yeah, so then she's like, she goes through how like historically the goddess also gave a sailcloth to the hero. Obviously, yeah, her chosen hero. Like, obviously, this isn't the same one. Yeah, she basically says, what we have to do next, right? And like, Link does not know what comes next in the ceremony because he clearly hasn't been paying attention. Like, your choices are, no, I don't think so, or like something like that. Something that clearly says no. Something that acts like you're thinking about it, and then the last one is like, as if like you do know, but at the same time you're being playful about it, but really you don't know. And I think
Link is very dense.
Yeah, regardless of what you pick, she does this like super duper lean in like towards Link's face. And then
like about to kiss.
Yeah, and then spins him around as like, you have to jump off the statue. Which, if she didn't make that sailcloth right, this would be the most dangerous ceremony. Like, hopefully somebody tested this sailcloth before you got this far. I don't. It just seems like a very risky thing to do. Like, what if it doesn't open right? Anyway, that's just my mechanical engineering brain like telling me that this is a bad idea, which. In reality, it is. Don't do this at home, kids. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, do not fashion a bedcloth and try to fly.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, don't try to remove a lot of momentum like that through your arms.
No. Yeah, all bad things. Especially since she suggests, like, if you really want to be courageous, you'd wait till the very end. Which is like, excuse me? You mean when I'm at terminal velocity, like at that point? Oh, goodness.
I actually did wait so long the very first time I jumped it that I smacked into the ground.
Oh, man.
Ah! Oh, my
I was like,
God.
you set me up!
How many hearts did you lose, or did it just like pop you back up to
No, I didn't. It just come back up, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, be more careful."
I can just imagine in reality, like doing this wing ceremony, you face plant and just like you'd be a broken human being at that point, and to just have the staff of the school come up and be like, "Well, I guess you should try again." Like, excuse me.
Are you just gonna stop?
I think we're done here today. Like, there is no try again. Like,
there's like 10 of my bones are broken. Well, I mean that's kind of your problem. What about our ceremony?
Next time, use the sailcloth. What do you like? What's your problem? Oh goodness. So yeah. I mean, I think Zelda afterwards asks you if you want to go fly together. And I think the build up to that question is also suspect because she's like, "Oh, I wanted to ask you something," and it's like, "Oh, what is it?" Like, there's all this suspense. It's like, "Do you want to go flying together?" It's like, all right, okay, sure. So next scene, you guys are just like cruising around.
Nothing bad could happen.
Right. And I think she starts talking to you about how proud she is of you for winning and stuff like that. Like, she basically says a bunch of really heartfelt stuff, yelling from one Loftwing to the other. At what appears to be a volume where anybody on Skyloft probably would have also heard her whole spiel. You know, they're flying, and she says, Link, hey, Link, today was amazing watching you win the race and performing the ritual together. I'll always remember this. It really was wonderful. You know, Link, there's something I've been meaning to talk to you about. And then suddenly there's a tornado. Like, just in the middle of all that, she's about to, like, something she's been meaning to talk to you about, and then kablam, big brown tornado. They call it a black tornado later, but it's clearly brown in the cutscene.
Yeah, it's very brown. It must have been flying over Kansas.
So it riggedy wrecks Zelda and her Loftwing, and then Link tries to like fly into it somehow to like get to her, and he gets smacked out of the air too. But I think the Loftwing, he gets knocked off of his Loftwing, and the Loftwing actually is still like able to function and basically saves him.
We see whatever after that part, we see Link reaching for Zelda in like a white light aura, and he's like reaching for her, and she's like screaming back like ah, and then she gets swallowed by the clouds.
Doesn't she get swallowed by that giant evil scaled mouth demon thing?
Oh man.
Yeah, no, I'm fairly certain that she falls into the giant thing's mouth, and she's like ah,
Link, help me.
and then she
Gotcha.
Or in me and Cameron's case, Lunker, help me.
Oh no.
D-Lunker, help!
Dark Lunker, you're my only hope.
I went bird names, man. Everybody has a bird name, so I named Link Kess for Kestrel, because the Kestrel is like a pretty cool, like small bird of prey kind of deal. I just thought it was a really, a good fit for him.
That's a cool name, though. It definitely fits him. I don't think every name's bird. You know, we have Zelda and Beetle.
We have the reoccurring characters, and also the pumpkin family that we haven't talked about yet. But yeah, there are a couple that are birds. You're right, but most of them are birds.
So I think after this happens,
we get this dialogue. I'm waiting for you. The time has come for you to awaken. You are vital to a mission of great importance.
We're actually just wake up in bed, right? At night.
Yeah, pretty much back in our own bed, yeah. And Gapora's there, and he gives us, he basically tells us what happens, that we were unconscious, and asks about what happened to Zelda. And this is where, like, I guess Link tells him that it was a black tornado, which isn't right, but that's okay.
No.
He asked you if anything was weird about Zelda. I guess she was talking about the surface and how she's been hearing things coming from there, like voices and stuff. This was back when you were saving the Loftwing. We forgot to talk about it, but Gapora basically says, like, oh, she was talking about the surface, okay. This is all very strange, but for now you should just, like, sleep or something, basically. Like, don't worry about it right now. If you fly in the night, it's going to be bad. So he tells you to rest, which obviously you're not going to do. You sneak out of your bed at night. I think you even start at this point to get led by an apparition of sorts. And it's a character that we're about to meet, but first we have to go through a chase scene. And by chase scene, I mean, like, we basically just follow her from point to point. I think one of the characters, if you go outside of the hall, like, Henya is out there, and she's like, it's like, oh yeah, I'm locking up the front door. It's not, like, you probably shouldn't go out into Skyloft at night. People will think you're up to something. But just in case, like, of emergency or whatever, we're going to leave the upper door open. Just don't go outside. So you go up and you go outside, and you follow this vision in the night, like, through a bunch of Skyloft. I think at some point you come across the
Remlet.
The Remlet. And the Remlet, the professor actually warned you that Mia the Remlet has been unruly at night, and she's been getting left outside because, like, she's impossible to handle. So she just leaves at night and comes back during the day fine. So, like, he basically says, like, be careful if you come across one in the nighttime. I guess it's just thought at this point that that's just what Remlets do. They just get mad at night for no reason. I don't know. There might be more of an explanation. Like, it might have been like a lately kind of statement, but But you have the warning, and when you come up to this remlet, yeah, it'll straight up attack you. This is where most people...
Maybe it's a reference to Gremlins.
It actually...
Yeah.
Gremlin, Remlet.
Grem.
Right. It makes sense to me. I think this is where most people experiment with throwing remlets off the edge of Skyloft.
Yeah. They're like, how can I get rid of this?
Because you can't actually kill the remlet.
Well, they're cute. You don't want to kill them because they're like they're your pets, basically. It's like if your dog or cat was like absolutely adorable during the daytime and gave you kisses and love and just loved you, and then at nighttime it became a vicious predator that was unstoppable. So you're like, well, I'm gonna put it in its cage so that it can't kill me, and then by morning it'll love me again. Like, so there's a story and a myth that many consider remlets to be possessed by like otherworldly or ethereal beings, basically, at night.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, people think that they're just possessed at nighttime. They're one of the many creatures that are possessed by evil forces. There is something I will bring up in a later date that comes into play with a side story of Skyloft, but it's for later. But just know that, you know what I'm talking about probably, but just know that they can be possessed by evil creatures, and that's what most of people at Skyloft think.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's not actually their nature to be aggressive, but, you know.
Right. So we have to, like, go this roundabout way around, like, the island where the goddess statue is. And eventually we actually end up back up there, and we go underneath the goddess statue. Like, a doorway opens up, and we kind of bury underneath it. This is where the vision presents itself to us. So a lot of it is very, very robotic. This is Fee. Fee is...
She's seemingly like a sword AI.
Yeah, she's connected to this sword that we see in this room underneath the goddess statue. It's the goddess's sword. I don't remember how this all gets explained somewhere in this next bit. But basically she introduces herself as Fee. Said, I was created for a single purpose long before the recorded memory of your people. I must aid you in fulfilling the great destiny that is your burden to carry. So she tells you to take up the sword. She gives a bunch of reasons why you might be apprehensive in this moment. But she basically convinces you that, hey, she tells you that Zelda's still alive, and that kind of kicks Link into action of like, oh yeah, I'll take the sword. Like, will. And
he runs over to it, and she makes a comment like, well, I guess no further explanation and no further persuasion is needed, I see.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
It seems that further persuasive measures will not be required.
Yeah.
So at this point you've drawn the sword. Fee tells you to raise it skyward. And then Fee does a recognition and declares Link her master.
Whoa, a Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Oh, he said it.
Skyward. That's the first time. So then Gapora shows up. And Gapora's like, I had my suspicions, but I wasn't sure.
This chamber has been passed down in the knowledge of very few here in Skyloft for centuries.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, like he knows about it.
He quotes this secret passage, right? Like this section of a song of some kind. It says, when the light of the goddess's sword shines bright, the great apocalypse will wake from its long slumber. Do not fear, for it is then that a youth, guided by my hand, shall reveal himself in a place most sacred. And then he goes into like what happened. He's like, it started days ago, the sword that I've kept secret all these years. It began to give off a faint, otherworldly light. And he's like, I thought I was seeing things, but you know, the prophecy, I didn't think it would come true in my lifetime, but I guess it did. The youth will be guided by one born of the blade, one who is also youthful in likeness, yet wise with knowledge immeasurable, which would be Fee. So then Fee just straight up like bashes this, just poops all over that, right? So Fee's like, yes, the oral tradition, one of the least reliable methods of information retention and transmission. It appears that critical sections of the passage have been lost over the generations.
Dissed.
I'm like, yo, sandbagged for real.
Yeah, he's standing here like, oof, my ancestor.
Right? So then Fee continues it and says, the youth who draws for the guiding sword shall be known as the goddess's chosen hero, and it is he who possesses an unbreakable spirit. He shall be burdened with the task of abolishing the shadow of apocalypse from the land. Such is his destiny. With the spirit of the blade at his side, he shall soar over the clouds and plummet below, and united with the spirit maiden shall bring forth a piercing light that resurrects the land. So then I think it even like cuts to Zelda, like just referring to the surface again. Just like Link's having a memory of it. So they basically get ready to send you off on this journey. Fee and Gapora are both kind of in agreement now that like clearly this is for you to do. Like you are this chosen hero who has this great destiny, and you're gonna have to go take on the apocalypse, I guess. So it's escalated mad quick. Like we went from 0 to 60 in one conversation. So there's a crest in the room that you have to hit with a Skyward Strike, which is a method where you hold your sword up in the air, it gets powered up, and then you like throw energy at it and stuff. And once that's activated, then you can put a tablet. I don't remember where you get the tablet from.
Fee poops it out.
Oh, okay. Fee just straight up gives it to you. Cool. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you put that in like this shrine right here at the underneath the goddess statue, and that like shoots a beam out into the clouds that pokes a hole through it, basically, so you can get through.
It pierces the cloud barrier.
Exactly. Makes an opening to the surface.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
And we can find Zelda now.
We are tasked to find the young maiden.
Yeah. So our next thing, I mean, we can talk to some other people around. Fledge will give you an adventure pouch, like, the next day. Like, I think Gapora gives you your actual, like, knight's uniform. Like, he's like, yo, like, if you're gonna go on an adventure, you probably need an adventuring uniform, because that one that you're wearing is not gonna hold up.
Like, the owl guy, I think, gives you a shield at some point.
Yeah, he gives you the shield, yeah.
Yeah. All I know is, can we talk about the knight outfit? The knight outfit is so cool. It's chainmail on the like. How does this like what? I don't know how old Link. Should we just say 17 for safe measures? Because Spirit of Destiny, Ocarina of Time, Link was 17. He looks around to be like 15 to 17 range. He's wearing full on chainmail mesh top on top of this like cloak, this Hylian cloak here. How the heck does a 17-year-old kid just, I could wear this chainmail and jump and climb things and sprint and, it's fine, whatever. No biggie.
He's a strong boy.
Yeah, he's in the Knights Academy. You don't think they do basic core training?
And like, we have Link from Ocarina of Time. Like, I feel bad for the poor kid. Like, this dude's taking on hits from like monsters in all these dungeons wearing like cloth. From a tunic, and we got big boy Link over here wearing full-on chainmail knight gear. Like, no wonders he takes less hearts, and starts with more hearts. To be honest, too,
he's ready, man.
Yeah, it's such a weird decision that they like decided to reintroduce. Like, they basically like recontextualized the hero's garb. Like, okay, so Ocarina of Time, you just kind of had a Kokorish tunic, and that's what you got as an adult as well. It was basically just a Celtic tunic, right? But like that's what it was. And I think in Wind Waker and in Twilight Princess, which are the other two games that happened in between, they all just refer to that as like the Hero of Time's outfit. And the one in Twilight Princess looks a lot like this one, even like including the chainmail. So then they just like decided, oh hey, by the way, like that tunic, now it's the Knights Academy tunic. So what's up?
I just want to interject one completely unrelated thing here, and that is Crawfish Blue Shirt is best Zelda outfit from Wind Waker in any game.
All right.
Yes. Love it.
It's the hidden outfit.
Yeah.
Could save the day in that outfit.
It's the starting outfit. Also the New Game Plus outfit, which is great.
Yeah, it's what you get in the very beginning before you get your outfit in New Game Plus. You just the whole way. So good. Yeah,
the hero's outfit that Grandma makes you is so light you can just see straight through it. It's pretty good. Yup. So yeah, Fledge will give you a pouch. I think, yeah. I think it's Horwell who gives you the shield. He's right outside the academy, and he just, if you just talk to him, he's like, "Oh, okay." Like, I don't remember what his dialogue is, but he definitely just hands you the shield. And then, you know, it's recommended that you can go to the bazaar to like get yourself equipped for this journey.
I mean, there's not really anything you can do at the bazaar at this point in time. I mean,
anything you try to upgrade, you can't.
Yeah, you don't have materials.
The only thing you can buy is a shield, but you just got one. You can't upgrade the shield yet because you don't have any upgrade materials.
You can go to the potion shop, get a bottle.
When you go to the potion shop, they'll give you a bottle so you can buy something.
That is true.
So that's cool. So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. But
I also like the idea of the potion that gives you 4 hearts and heals your, or like repairs your shield.
Yeah.
That's the one I grabbed.
Also, shield repairs is breakable weapons in this game.
Yeah.
Well, at least breakable shields.
But yeah, we have the goddess sword. And I wanted to harp on, basically, this is the thing that I can finally talk about. But in this game, everyone's mentioning the goddess. You get the goddess's sword. Fi was created by the goddess. Basically, this is also the goddess that was, I think it was the goddess that was descendant of those 3 goddesses. The original from the Ocarina of Time, like this was the next goddess.
Yeah, from what I can tell, in the lore of the game, I don't think that there's like anything definitive that connects the original 3 goddesses with the new one. All we know is that it's a singular goddess, and that it's like somehow separate or different than the ones we've already been told about. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I was reading this this post, and I was also reading a little bit into Hyrule Historia, and there's a part in the Ocarina of Time, like theories that the goddesses, you know, created Hylians basically, as well.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's cemented at that point that those 3 goddesses created Hylians. So, all we know at the beginning of this story was that there was a powerful goddess that was, you know, summoned or started fighting her way with her Hylian brethren, and this is like basically the beginning of the beginning. That was never. It was like the gap between what wasn't mentioned in Ocarina of Time, and it makes me feel sort of like a Star Wars kind of connection thing here. Whereas like we have the original trilogy, it was good, and then there never needed to be a past explanation, but they kind of just did the prequels because why not? And this is like that same kind of, like, it's just cool from a fan's point to like see these things be added. And that's how I feel. But
yeah, there was a bit in the beginning, and we kind of smashed through the intro of this game a little bit, and that's on me because I went straight to the nightmare. But there was a bit, I think you may have actually read it, that talks about there's an ultimate power that this goddess was protecting.
Oh, wait. Right here.
Yeah.
Right here it says, hold on. The power she guarded was without equal, handed down by the gods of old.
Right.
This power gave its holder the means to... Yeah, so she was given the power by... And the gods of old, you know, we don't have to go into much explanation. That's Din, Nehru, and Faror.
Yeah, so I think even in the beginning that there was like some imagery of the Triforce like being kind of handed over, or like, you know, basically the goddess either protecting it or holding it up or something like that. Another side note just to mention is that even in these early depictions of the god, like the artwork that is shown, the harp is present. This is the harp that Zelda has been playing throughout this portion of the game. I think it's literally called the goddess harp or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you have a keen eye and just got done playing Ocarina of Time, you would recognize this as the same harp that Sheik plays throughout the story of Ocarina of Time, which pretty much links these. Well, I guess is intended anyway to link these stories together. There's a whole lot of opinions that I have about this story versus Ocarina of Time and like how they do fit and don't fit together. But I think that's better for like end game talk. So there's been a couple things like that. So if we're feeling good about ending the story here for today, there's just one little segment I want to do at the end just to bookend this, because I feel like I kind of botched this a little bit earlier. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to do a Groose status update, and maybe every episode we can do ourselves a Groose status update.
A Groose update.
A Legend of Groose segment.
Hold on, we can do Legend of Groose segment. Also, Cameron, what was your favorite creature of the week?
Well, actually, I want to rename it this week to Enemy of the Week, and I'm going to pick Groose.
You're going to pick Groose as the enemy of the week?
Yeah.
Bad guy.
I like it.
He's the enemy of the week. He took our bird.
I like it.
He hit it to try to get an advantage to get with the girl that likes us. He was a bad guy. He was an enemy this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I know him for right now, so public enemy number 1, Groose.
All right, you heard it here. The creature enemy compendium. Groose is the bad one of the week.
Oh no. All right. Groose, why do you have to have such a harsh beginning?
That's what I gotta say.
So, the Legend of Groose, right? Here we go. We got Groose.
Oh god.
What? What is this?
Just the Legend of
Legend of
Groose.
Groose.
Like,
What
I
kind of
can't-
terrible dimension are we in where it wasn't the Legend of Zelda series, it was the Legend of Groose?
It's the Legend of Groose, Skyward Pompadour, okay? That's what we're playing.
Skyward Pompadour.
the Legend of Groose.
So,
Trumpet of Time.
The Legend of Groose, Breath of Zelda.
no, oh my goodness. Anyway, that's bad. That's messed up. Anyway, so I already mentioned how there's 3 medallions from the sages left on Skyward, right? I promise this will relate. So Light, Forest, and Spirit. If we remember from Ocarina of Time, and just taking the characters that we have available to us now, if you were to kind of just match them up, like who was closest to each of these medallions, you would find that Zelda was closest to the Light Medallion because she was literally like a sage. Well, she was the leader of the sages, but she also like originated from Hyrule Castle, which is right next to the Temple of Light. And she used light arrows. Like she was a light, basically like she was an overhead sage of light. We have Link, who lived in the forest that housed the forest temple and like was best friends with Saria, who was actually the forest sage, and he would be your forest character. So the question then becomes, who matches the spirit medallion? And I believe, after having played through this game before and just kind of seeing this imagery, and we've already talked about how Groose might be a Gerudo, that Groose is our spirit medallion. Like, Groose fits that role pretty well.
Shut up.
What?
I mean, I see it. I definitely see that, especially since the Gerudo were present on the campus of the Spirit Temple itself, being represented by the medallion. So yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, I think that's where they're starting him off. Like, he has a lot of like the Gerudo deal going on. He started off by stealing the bird. He rides okay, so this is a bit of a stretch, but I'm gonna go with it anyway. He rides like basically the Gerudo stallion of Loftwings, because it's a big black bird that has like red tipped wings. He's got all of the other signaling that we've said before with the yellow eyes and the red hair and all of that. Like, it really just seems like they put him in here as this contrasting character. Like, right now, yes, he's just been an antagonist. He actually blames you for what happened to Zelda. Partly because you won the wing ceremony. You were somehow responsible for her getting hit by a tornado. He vows that he's going to rescue her and is in a point of disarray right now. And this will develop later, but for now, this is actually where we're going to end up leaving Groose when we go through that portal to the surface for the first time. So right now, like, status update for Groose, he is distraught in his room.
His head is hanging down.
Friends by his side. Yes. And And I, at this point, am of the belief that he is our Gerudo spirit character of this game, and has been officially paired with Link and Zelda in some way, and we're going to see if that continues to play out.
When you were talking about Groose, it made me think of Naburu, who started out trying to kind of use you as a kid to get what she wanted because you had a small enough body to fit through where she couldn't. And later on, when she became a sage, she said, "I can't believe somebody like me ended up becoming a sage." Well, I will say that Groose is definitely in a good position now to eventually look back and say, "Wow, how did I become a sage?" Or something like that.
Yeah.
Is what I have to say about that.
Yeah.
He definitely has a long way he could go forward and then look back.
That's why I'm keeping an eye on this boy. I love Groose.
Well, you already know what happens. I'm keeping an eye on this poo muffin. This pompadour poo muffin over here.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. One thing we're going to find in this game, remember how we did all that color theory stuff for Ocarina of Time?
Nope.
No, not at all. All right, great. Well, guess what? It's all going to go out the window. This game looks at that and just says, nah, we don't care about that so much anymore. So we're going to bring light to the world, but we're not going to do it by breaking down all the components of light and figuring out what they mean. We're just going to do it. We're just going to do the thing. So
we're going to do it by swinging swords.
So that's where we're at. That's why I've decided that instead of studying color theory, I am going to study Groose. as my main activity.
Groose theory.
Take the psychology of Groose.
It's going to be great. I can't wait.
Grooseology.
All right. Well, I think that finishes it up then for this episode of Season 2.
Season 2, baby.
Woo, lift off.
Cool. Can't wait to discuss it more with you guys. If you want to reach out to us, you know our... well, you might not know our links, but that's okay. It's A4NB4Y@gmail.com to send us an email. Or you can find any of our social media links in the episode description as well. So, yeah, go ahead and let us know what you thought of the opening to Skyward Sword. Tell us just how bad we were at actually conveying it through the podcast medium. And, we'll be happy to take your fan theories or questions or criticisms or what have you. And, respond to them accordingly. Like, you might end up on the show if that's what you'd like. Or we might just, take a hint. So, we love y'all. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next episode.
Did you get all that, laddies? Remastered.